Hello and welcome to You've Seen It Before, Movie Reviews Connections in Mind. Well, it's T-minus 4 hours it left in 2019 on New Year's Eve, and here I am looking back at the decade that was 2010 through 2019. I can't possibly do a comprehensive look at the decade since, again, I have not seen all the movies, and I haven't seen a whole bunch of great movies that came out this decade that every best of the decade list is going to be different because, again, people have seen different movies or haven't seen different movies. These are just the ones that my look back of the films that I have collected over the years from this decade. This includes franchises, non-franchises, whatever. I just wanted to do a quick look back at what this decade had to offer as far as film goes, and a look forward as to what we can possibly look forward to in the 2020s. On first glance, I would say that this was definitely the decade of the franchise. My second tertiary tier here is all about collections of films. This decade saw the end of franchises, the beginnings of franchises, the renewals of franchises, such as 2010 and 2011 were the years that the last two, the Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Parts 1 and 2 were released. The 2012s had the fizzle, 2012, 2013, and 2014, the fizzle that was the Hobbit movies. 2011 forward has started with Fast 5 was the reinvention of the Fast and Furious franchise. 2012 and 2015 showed the one of the best and one of the more mediocre James Bond films in Skyfall and Spectre. 2015 had the renewal and the groundbreaking film that was Mad Max Fury Road. The 2012 and 2016, the relative downcline of the rebooted Star Trek franchise, and also the 2011. Here, I have my list of notes here for what we had here for the reboot of the Planet of the Apes series. 2011, 2014, and 2017 were the trilogy of Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and War for the Planet of the Apes. Though the 2010s also showed us the gradual decline of the X-Men franchise, starting in 2011 with X-Men First Class, while also giving us some of the better X-Men films, such as Logan in 2017. Again, we had franchises getting their swan songs, such as 2012 with The Dark Knight Rises. Again, the reinvention of the franchises of the Mission Impossible franchise, starting in 2011 with Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, where things really start to pick up steam with that. And lest we forget, 2010, while not the start of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it was the beginning of the gaining of the speedboat that was the Marvel Cinematic Universe, getting on the plane of the water and really going in stride. This decade could possibly be called the Marvel decade because this even looking at the other films in this stack, this was really a decade ruled by franchises, specifically superhero franchises, and even more specifically the Marvel Cinematic Universe. 2010 saw the release of Iron Man 2 and Thor. 2011, Captain America: The First Avenger, so on and so on and so on. I always point to 2012, the first Avengers film, where no one thought that was going to. Everyone was really nervous on whether or not that was going to work, and Joss Whedon just knocked it out of the park. I remember exactly where I was that day in 2012 when I saw that in the theaters, and it was an experience. I'm so glad they pulled it off, and I'm so glad we could get another 7+ years of Marvel films after that. But moving on from the franchise stuff here, I just kind of wanted to point out, starting from the bottom here, these are listed by year, starting at the bottom of 2010 and working our way up to 2019 of the films that I bought over the years. Just some thoughts, starting with a real good one, 2010's Inception. Inception, that really changed a whole lot, I think, in not only what was possible in terms of filmmaking, both CGI and practical effects, but also it defined movie trailers for probably a good 5 years after that with the blah of the Inception trailer. Not in the movie, just the trailer, the common misconception. Moving up, we have Megamind, Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, Predators, Toy Story 3. Who would have thought that we would get another one this decade? Chronicles of Narnia, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, Kung Fu Panda 2, Rango, Sherlock Holmes, Game of Shadows, Unknown. That's one that it's not really groundbreaking in a way, but I kind of that's a relatively obscure Liam Neeson thriller. I kind of like that. Argo, a Best Picture winner for 2012. Did it deserve it? Maybe not, depending on your opinion. I feel it was a good film. Lincoln, Red Tails was one that I had not seen in quite a while. I remember seeing it in theaters. I watched it a couple times after that, but that was one that I forgot was this decade. Red Tails was 2012. Then we have Ted, Wrath of the Titans, Man of Steel in 2013. Like it, hate it, whatever your opinion is, it can't be argued that it's kicked off the DCEU, the DC Expanded Universe, and now they're closer to the top of the pile that they're finally starting to get around to making it work as a DC concept. Pacific Rim, Big Hero 6, Edge of Tomorrow is another one that I wanted to point out because that's one that is not talked about enough these days. And last I heard, Doug Liman did get Tom Cruise back in the works for a sequel, but that kind of stalled. It didn't necessarily need a sequel, but that's a good one. Definitely worth checking out. A good mix of Groundhog Day and Saving Private Ryan. So there's that. Focus, Fury, Godzilla, the first American Godzilla in, let's see, 16 years or so, from 2014 there. John Wick in 2014. That was a good one right there. The Lego Movie, another groundbreaking one. Million Ways to Die in the West. Bridge of Spies, one that is, I personally love it. It's not for everyone. It's a little slow, but I still think it's pretty good. Jurassic World, man, that was a good 2015 there. That was a big one at the box office. The Kingsman, The Secret Service, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., another great one that is very underrated, didn't make a lot of money at the box office, and you should definitely check it out if you haven't before. Star Wars The Force Awakens. Say what you will about the sequels, that will come later. It's undeniable that was a phenomenon in 2015 with people thinking that with the ending of the prequels in 2005, that was all the Star Wars we were ever going to get. We were wrong. Arrival, such a good movie. We're getting to 2016 here, and I saw this late in its theatrical run, and I did not regret seeing it on the big screen. See it on the biggest screen that you can possibly find if it's at a friend's house, whatever, and cue up the bass on your surround system as well, especially when you see the first shots of the alien ship as the clouds are rolling over the hills in Montana, I believe. And gosh, Denis Villeneuve, such a great filmmaker. Great cinematography as well on that. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I find enough things to like in it that I can kind of overcome the more nonsensical parts of it. Deadpool. Here we're getting into the movies that I started reviewing on this channel. I started in the latter half of 2016, and Deadpool was one that I reviewed months after the fact, but I just couldn't help but talk about it. It's such a fun movie. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. It had potential. It worked well enough. Too bad the sequel bombed really hard, in my mind. Finding Dory, great film. Hacksaw Ridge, Hidden Figures, Passengers. Such a wasted concept, in my opinion. That they could have gone so much, they could have executed it so much better than they did. Rogue One, great, pretty decent Star Wars movie. A little slow in the beginning, but picked up right around the end. It got good. Suicide Squad, again, just like Batman v Superman, I find enough in it to enjoy it, to overlook the more nonsensical elements of it. Next we have Alien Covenant, getting into 2017 here. Not the best Alien movie I've ever seen, but definitely better than Prometheus, I would say. American Made, one that kind of went under the radar. Not a lot of people talked about it at the time. I had a blast, and if you've never seen that, if you've never seen it before, check it out. I think it's worth your time. Tom Cruise, based on a true story. Atomic Blonde, my favorite movie of 2017. Still in my top 10 favorite movies overall. You could check out my review that I did right after I saw the film on my channel, and it was, this is every year, probably twice a year, in my opinion. This is a great, great movie. Blade Runner 2049. Definitely a visual masterpiece. Denis Villeneuve again, same guy as Arrival. I need to rewatch it again. I haven't watched it since the theater, but but it's one that deserves rewatch, I think, and I will get around to it. Darkest Hour and Dunkirk. They weren't made by the same studio, but they kind of act as a flip side of historical events, the evacuation of Dunkirk and the life of Winston Churchill there. John Wick Chapter 2, another great action film, almost better than the first. Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. Like I said in my review for Jumanji, The Next Level, my review for that this year, just a fun movie, and definitely worth rewatching. That's a once-a-year rewatch for me. Justice League, again, not a perfect movie by any stretch, but I find enough to enjoy it to overlook its problems, and I personally hope that they get the Snyder Cut released just so that we have an answer to what it would have looked like had things panned out differently. Kingsman: The Golden Circle, Kong Skull Island, a fun, great film. Not a great film, but a fun film nonetheless. The Last Jedi. After seeing The Rise of Skywalker, and honestly my opinion has been turning even before then, it's not my favorite Star Wars movie by any means. It's a kind of a tough rewatch because there's a lot in here that I don't particularly enjoy. But the lows are particularly low, but the highs are really high. And I kind of appreciate what Rian Johnson was going for on that. So overall, I could give it pretty much of a pass. Not a pass as much, but I appreciate it for what it is at this point. Let's put it that way. And I mentioned it before, but now that we're in the 2017 movies, these are starting to get movies that I've reviewed on my channel. If you want more opinion and more analysis on these, you can go check out my my reviews on my channel for a bunch of these movies. Tomb Raider. Wonder Woman, great in the superhero film. Maybe hasn't aged quite as well, especially in the third act, as some of the other DC films, but still solid films, and the score, such a good score. Aquaman, fun Disney DC film, and I love Jason Momoa. Bumblebee, it returned the Transformers franchise to more of a positive note, even though it didn't do great at the box office. Deadpool 2, almost as good as the original. or as good, not better, as good, I should say. Game Night. I didn't do a review of it on my channel. I found it at Walmart for $10 after hearing nothing but praise for it from my other various YouTube channels that I surf for movie stuff, and I do not regret it one bit. This is probably my favorite comedy of the last few years. I mean, just check it out if you haven't. It's hilarious. Incredibles 2. Was it worth the wait? For the most part, yes. 14 years is a long time to go between sequels, and I think for the most part they pulled it off. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, not a great film. I bought this because it was $7 on Black Friday, and that was probably the only way I would ever buy that. So, Mission Impossible Fallout, which is going with the Mission Impossible ones, great movie for Mission Impossible. Can't wait to see what he does with the next 2 that I believe that they scheduled. Overlord, kind of a fun film. I got this on the cheap as well. I had a gift card or something, and it's worth a rewatch for sure. If you're into World War II kind of horror films, like zombie Nazi sort of stuff, it doesn't have as much of that, but it is something. Definitely worth checking out at least once. Ready Player One, I thought it was okay. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, again, I didn't do a review of that on my channel, but my gosh, that is probably one of the better animated films of this decade. I kid you not, the animation is gorgeous. It is meta in all the right ways. It is serious in all the right ways. It has heart like none other for an animated film for a long time, and it's so unique. Nothing looks like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and not enough people saw that in theaters, me included. Actually, wait. No, I did see it in theaters, but it was late. It was late in the run. I think it was near the end of the year of 2018 that I saw that in theaters. But I'm glad I did. Go check that out. Venom. It's not a perfect film, but I like it nonetheless. Godzilla King of the Monsters. I love the monster fights. I do love them, but maybe cut down. Maybe make the humans a little more interesting. Who knows? John Wick 3 Parabellum. They just keep making awesome action scenes. The only thing, like I said in my review of it, the only thing that knocked it down a peg for me was that middle part that kind of dragged a little bit. The Lego Movie 2, the second part, I got that for cheap on Black Friday this year. When I saw it, I enjoyed it fine. It wasn't as good as the original Lego Movie, but still enjoyable. Long Shot is one I also picked up on Black Friday. I did not see that before I purchased it. I heard good things about it, but I hadn't seen it. But just like Game Night, I took a chance. I bought it, brought it home, watched it, and I thought it was worth the money. I'm glad I bought it, but it wasn't quite as the excitement, at least for me, as Game Night, but still worth seeing. Go check it out. Charlize Theron and Seth Rogen. And finally, Shazam. Shazam is just such a fun movie, and it just goes to show that with Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Shazam, DC finally figured out how to make good standalone superhero movies that are loosely tied together and aren't blatantly copying Marvel. So, what I look at these films going back from 2019 down to 2010 and my franchises here, I'm just looking forward into 2020. What I want is more franchises giving creative control to their creative voices, letting their creatives have a bigger say, giving them to people who actually have something to say, and just have fun. They're confident and they make movies a fun experience again. I also want more action akin to John Wick 3. Not necessarily in the same style, of course, but just competent action that propels the story, and it's just such a good time. And like, they knocked it out of the park with the John Wick franchise. There's going to be more of them. Just keep it up. That's going to be so good. And I just hope that with into the 2020s, we may franchise fatigue may end up becoming a thing. The MCU might not look the same as it has for the last 10 years. The Star Wars kind of needs to take a break for a little while. And I hope that opens the door for more great standalone films that aren't related to any franchise, but you can still have a good time with. Films such as American Made or Atomic Blonde or like Game Night or Overlord or just stuff like that. And that's what I want to see in the 2020s. Looking back, it was overall a pretty good decade for film, and I just hope that we get the same kind of quality going to the 2020s. And thank you so much for watching my channel for starting in July of 2016. Now here we are at the last few hours of 2019. When I'm filming this, of course, you'll probably watch this in 2020. I hope you had a great 2019. I hope you have a great 2020 and beyond. Thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate whatever audience I can get. Be sure to, if you like what you see on my channel, just please give either this video or any other of my videos, give me a like, a share, and especially subscribe. I very much appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I appreciate whatever audience I can get. You guys are the best. But just remember, there is nothing new under the sun. And yes, you have seen it before.